I told myself I wouldn't, but after seeing all the genuinely idiotic and frankly embarrassing takes from people all over Twitter, even people I respect on all sides of this discussion, I've got to intervene. We have to talk about Palworld. Let's first address the AI side of this debate. First off, as of writing this script, there's no proof that any AI has made it into the product that Pocket Pair has shipped. And from what I can tell, they've only expressed interest and curiosity, and their last game is like AI based in a way that doesn't seem dubious. I've seen a lot of debate, trashing this game as AI slop, which is disingenuous and removes attention from what the debate should actually be about, which we'll get to a little bit later. But I think it's a misrepresentation of what the game is, and is just poor debate etiquette. So secondly, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but AI has become this huge buzzword in the industry as of late, and the fear-mongering is insane. AI has been in use for years. Now that generative AI is producing results that can easily be mistaken for handmade art, people are rightfully concerned about the implications and the usage. For starters, yes, any AI that is farming people's work without consent or compensation is ethically and legally dubious. I'm sure legislation will be on its way soon to kind of contain all of that. That said, not all AI databases are farming public work, and not all AI is being used for commercial products. Again, this is a super complex topic, but the bottom line is that generative AI could have a place in development so long as the algorithms being fed are legally acquired content, and or the AI is used for brainstorming concepts, but not actual product that people are purchasing. Most companies recognize that AI is extremely legally dubious, and using it for commercial purposes will only lead to trouble, and that's why they're quietly making their own solutions, but people on Twitter are of course using stuff like Midjourney and ChatGPT, which is not legally sourced content. Back to game development though, AI is responsible for stuff like procedural generation for lots of NPC systems and the facial animation of NPCs in Cyberpunk. It's a legitimate tool that developers have and can make essential without costing somebody else's job. The Horizon series exists as it does because the landscapes are partially procedurally generated and then doctored up by hand. Artists are feeding data in and polishing up the results. It just reduces the work time. AI is a valid tool to use in game development so long as artists aren't being replaced. With all of that in mind, let's actually talk about Palworld. Even if it was confirmed to use AI to make game assets, that isn't a good enough reason to delegitimize it until you can confirm that it is being unethically used to steal art or simply replace artists. This AI talk is clouding the actually important discussion surrounding plagiarism. Now, first off, yes, a lot of these characters do look similar, and that in itself is not a problem. The problem here is, as some users on Twitter have noticed, is that the models are almost identical in a lot of cases. The Twitter user on the screen now has taken these models, compared them with Pokemon models, and has found an incredible amount of overlap. And while a lot of the designs are very reminiscent of Pokemon's designs, most are different enough that you could call them inspired, and maybe it isn't the most creative cast of characters, but I don't think it's worth being deeply disturbed by. But illegally using models other people have made is, though, because that is blatant plagiarism. And just to be clear, I don't think Game Freak or the Pokemon Company need me to defend the integrity of their assets, and frankly, I don't give a fuck because their artists still got paid and those games make plenty of money. This isn't a case of stealing from the little guy and making way more money. But it does set a bad precedent that you can steal assets and ideas and become insanely profitable. The game has had an incredible debut, and this is going to signal to a lot of other developers that pursuing their own labor-intensive ideas simply isn't worth it when you can steal models, doctor them up a bit, reskin the last game you made, and sell millions. Which, to be fair, is what Game Freak is doing without the plagiarism. That brings us to the next issue I take with developer Pocket Pair. Their other notable game, Craftopia, is in poor shape. Never really getting the support it promised, the game has been in early access since 2020, and the company has evidently moved on to other endeavors, but Craftopia is obviously styled after Breath of the Wild. The intro is the same right down to the camera movements, and it's pretty obvious this wasn't a super passionate or original idea. The gameplay is different than Breath of the Wild, but it's clear that this team is accustomed to not just borrowing other people's ideas, but actively using them. That said, and not having played Palworld, it does seem like its own thing. While it shares a lot in common with Pokemon designs, the gameplay is its own. Even if it wasn't, it would just be another creature catching game like Pokemon, which nobody has ever had a problem with because that's how genre works. My issue with the game comes down to the disingenuous use of other people's work. The entire marketing push for this game has been Pokemon with guns, which just makes me sad as an artist. It's not unethical to capitalize off Pokemon's name and recognition. It just demoralizes me as an artist because nobody wants to make art in a world where the most profitable thing you can do is be somebody else. On top of that, like I said, this is a really bad example. I'm not mad on Game Freak's behalf because nobody there is actively suffering from Palworld, but it puts smaller teams and artists at a much bigger risk in the future. If Palworld can rob from Game Freak, who's to stop anybody else from stealing work from much smaller companies or individuals? Even if Palworld faces legal troubles from this, other devs could start stealing from studios who don't have the same clout, and won't be so obviously found out, and won't drum up so much news even if it is. I don't want to say it opens the door to more prevalent plagiarism, because it's already an issue, the door is wide open, but it does draw attention to it and reminds individuals of bad faith that it is possible and feasible to use other people's work, make a lot of money, and get away with it. Now, I don't like throwing the word lazy around when it comes to game development because even bad, unoriginal, uninspired games take a fair amount of hard work to put together, and from what I can tell, Palworld isn't an outright bad game. It's maybe not quite there yet, but it seems kind of fun. But it is disingenuous, not especially creative, and based on the dev's track record, I think you're all about to be played. I could be wrong, this looks like another quick buck to them. Craftopia players are upset that the game has essentially been abandoned, and I don't think Palworld will ever leave early access either. But maybe with the success, they'll keep working on it, who knows. I've gotten a little rambly, but the bottom line is that the discourse around this game is really frustrating me because people seem to be mad for all the wrong reasons. And then people are entirely misrepresenting arguments, resulting in a shitstorm on Twitter of people arguing against fake positions or against things that aren't even happening. Which is actually just the status quo for Twitter, so I'm not surprised. And as a last note, just regarding the idea of voting with your wallet, it's too late. Palworld sold enough to reward and encourage this kind of behavior, and there are surely people who actually wanted to make this game and worked hard to do so, so I don't think it's unethical to buy and play this game. I'm not going to, but I don't think you should be shamed if you do. Lots of people are evidently having fun, and that's the most important thing at the end of the day. Boycotts are tough in this industry because for every bad CEO or for every shitbag at the top, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of passionate, working class people who have endeavored to make these games, and they deserve to have their work rewarded. But that's a topic for a whole nother video. But yeah, that's me weighing in on the Palworld discourse. Cheers.